Dear viewers, welcome to Dmtsi Ertrawyan Gothenburg and another episode of Dmtsi Essay. I'm your host, Fatawi Mahari, and today we will have an inspiring episode. We have our good friend and inspirational source, Professor Aman Russom, with us. So let's jump into the episode and join me in welcoming Professor Aman Russom. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind invitation.
So, I mean, we know each other for a long time. I must say, you're an inspiration to me. But for those that don't know you, could you give a brief introduction of yourself?
Thank you. So my name is Aman Russom. I'm a professor at KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. But of course, I'm Eritrean. I was born in Asmara and moved to Sweden together with my family. Grew up in Sweden. So I would say I'm a product of both Eritrea and Sweden.
Thank you, and I would like to also to thank you for taking time and joining us today. I understand that it's a long journey to get to where you are. So could we start by just how tell us about your academic journey? What's the different steps you've taken to get to where you are today?
Um, yeah, so to start with, maybe I will basically reiterate that I came to Sweden at a young age. So I studied my um, what we would call the middle school here in Sweden. There's a small town called Jönköping, and then after gymnasium, I went for university, and there probably then I would say my academic journey started by the choice of where to go to the university. I went for KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology. I studied chemical engineering, so I have a master in chemical engineering. And then after masters, the next question, natural question, is what do you do once you have a master in chemical engineering? In my case, I continue with the study, and I studied for my PhD, and I did PhD also here at KTH Royal Institute of Technology. In that case, I moved on from chemical engineering to a subject we briefly would call biomedical engineering or bioengineering. So I combined a lot of engineering with biotechnology. So on this one, I finished in 2005. After I got my PhD, I then went on to get my postdoctoral fellow, and I was fortunate enough to get admitted at Harvard Medical School. So I moved to Boston, and I was there for 3 years, where I did my postdoctoral fellowship. End of 2008, I decided to move back to Sweden and started a small group, again at the Royal Institute of Technology, but in a different department. Since 2008, then I have basically led my group, and I'm currently working as a professor and head of a division called the Division of Nanobiotechnology. This division, we are give and take around 20 to 25 people, depending on how you count. And we belong to a larger institute called the Protein Science, and that itself basically then is located at it's a research center called Science for Life Laboratory, a research center in collaboration between KTH, my school, Karolinska Institute, and Stockholm University. So my daily working place as a professor basically is then in this research center called Science for Life Laboratory. It's very, very briefly my journey.
Very impressive journey. Um, I, I, I'm thinking this takes time. With time, also your at least if I were to do this journey, the level of encouragement would go up and down, and things it's not easy along the way. What inspired you to become a professor? Were there specific moments or people that influenced your decision to pursue a career within academia?
It's a very good question. I never thought of professor, or let's say the title was a driving force at all. This is, I would say, a fruit of long hard work. But however, to stay in academia, there was a really drive in terms of I've been very curious all the time. I really like to think about innovation around technology development, etc. And one of the, I would say, turning points was as I was finishing my PhD, I actually interviewed for a company because I thought after the PhD I was going to go for the industry. So roughly a year before I finished, I was at a conference. In this conference, I had an interview with the company, and the end of that, this guy more or less told me, you know what? I see you drive. You should do research, because in a company, we already have innovated what we want to do. So, which means we are looking for process engineers to deliver on that promise. So he basically sent my CV to a professor who was the co-founder of that company, who was a professor at Harvard Medical School. So that was the starting point for me to think, oh, maybe academia is not a bad idea after all. So that inspired me to think about academia. And since then, I never regretted or looked back, because I think I found my passion, and I really love what I do. So probably you never know what tomorrow offers. So for me, it was not a given to land in academia. It was basically during the journey I started to understand this is my passion. So really, really, if I can pinpoint one turning point, this was the outcome of this interview. That after we were done, he more or less told me, "Hey, you are really sparkling with ideas and thinking process. So I think academia might be better fit for you." That was the turning point for me.
Okay, okay. I'm wondering a little bit about Harvard. You mentioned that you've been there. Um, I mean, for me, obviously, I haven't studied these levels. Harvard for me seems like a very hard place to be, and a lot of learning. How was that experience for you?
You're right. I think that was also very, very interesting, and an experience I take with me for life. So the difference from making a master or a PhD at Harvard and what I did was that I did a postdoc. So which means more or less I was working as a PhD to gain experience. So which means it's a research experience. For 3 years, I was working with among the top people in the world, and that has a lasting experience, a footprint on me. And the experience to actually be in that environment really is amazing. So Boston is quite small town, relatively, when you look at it from the US, but it's heavily populated in both the academic environment, but also the biotech, pharma companies. So you're always surrounded by, really, really prestige people, the sometimes people that you only read on the books or in the news, etc. So it was very inspirational from that point of view. And the other one was that when you compete in that level, you also realize that, oh, I'm not less than this person. So which means you also get that confidence, internal confidence, that you are doing not bad, or you could really say that above the average performance when you can compare yourself with some of the top competitors. So it was a very the environment was very nice for me. And coming from Sweden, I was not let's say intimidated, or let's say afraid of being in an environment that was highly prestigious, I would say. So it was a very, very good experience for me.
Okay. Uh, I can think about, because you were there as coming from Sweden, but did your Eritrean identity also come through a little bit there? Did people know about you being from Eritrea? Anything?
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is, you don't look like a Swede when you go there, so it's very interesting. We have had a lot of laughter, a lot of experience when people hear my name and how I look like, and then be introduced as a Swede. But of course, I get to with a very proud, I would say, pride, explain that I'm originally from Eritrea, and also to represent Eritrea, because the thing is, wherever you go, your identity goes with you. So for me, it was very important to highlight the fact that I am made in Eritrea. I grew up in a family that spoke Tigrinya at home, kept the culture, and also the language. So for me, to carry with me my identity was very, very important.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe one more thing I can add to that one is that some of the traits of Eritrean that I took with me was this Kas, to really giving up is not in my DNA. A lot of those values that we share common in the Eritrean culture has been seeping through, and I have basically been able to handle tough situations with a grain of salt, knowing that the challenges of our people, our history. So for me, I think as an Aman, I would say education is a Swedish based, but the character and the personality is Eritrean.
Mm. It's always nice to know that there's people like you representing us out there. Um, so, of course, there's a lot of learning and studying, but I understand that you teach as well, right?
Yes.
So, what's your approach to teaching? How do you create a positive learning environment for students?
Yeah. So in my situation, the way it differs slightly. So I would say people like me in my position, we are 100% researchers. So we do state of the art research, and then we teach courses. So the education for me is dual. One is mentoring. Basically, I have PhD students that I supervise to graduate them until a PhD. The other one is I have master courses that I give in classical lecture style. They are also then my type of courses tend to be more on the advanced technologies, next generation of um, uh, to teach the bioengineers coming out to the industry what type of skill sets they need. So for me, uh, education is very core. That's why you stay in academia. So to teach the next generation, to share with you knowledge is a very important part of our everyday life. And some of the, I would say, key points is to foster I would say high roof approach. Like failure is not a problem. Without failure, you will never learn. So I dare to challenge my students to reach out for something that is impossible. I think Einstein put it very nicely that when he was asked about research, he was saying we would not call it a research if we knew what we were doing. So we are looking for things that has not been invented yet, things that have not been done yet. So then you need to have kind of a bit of uh, acceptance that failure is a way to learn. So that's something that I try to foster into my students. But also, the collegial, the empathy goes hand in hand with greatness. So there is a lot of soft skills that you pick up along the journey that you try to give to your students. It's very satisfactory to see, to get to learn, to know what they are doing once they pass, they graduate. So for me in academia, some of the, it's almost like seeing your children graduate and doing great things as they go, and that's one of those things that really motivates me to be a leader in academia.
Okay. Have there been any standout moments in your teaching career? Any that you can think of?
No, the thing is, I would not say, I would be lying to you if I would say I am one of the best teachers ever, because I am like, as I was saying, there are different constellations. The way my type of research is more almost like 100% research, means that we are more research oriented than lecturing. So which means if I would have been a, let's say, mathematical teacher, I might then have 200 students per year that goes through my courses, and I really make a big impact in their lives. I am more researcher than a teacher, so which means the type of teaching we give in terms of courses tend to be maybe 30 people, where we have both theoretical and experimental work on kind of research level hands-on practices. I also, but if I am to mention something that really sticks out and I'm proud of, is that I do workshops in Sub-Saharan Africa. We are a group of international researchers looking a way to give back. And one of the things we do is every 2 years we have we give 2-day workshop and 2-day conference in Kenya. And this is something we are now looking into, exploring ways to expand it to other countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, we had about students from 14 Sub-Saharan African countries. So that's something that for me sticks out and makes me proud, because this is a commitment we do in addition to what we normally teach. So that type of knowledge exchange excites me a lot.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. In I mean, in Eritrean families, or in Eritrea in general, education is very, or our parents really want us to educate ourselves. We It's in our culture to get educated and rise, and make opportunities for yourself in that way. So there's a lot of young Eritreans out there that are in the midst of their studies, or are about to start their studies in universities and so on. So for students thinking about a career in academia, what advice do you have based on your experience? So I know there's a lot of steps here, so I want to make sure that we cover as many people as possible. So if we start with, for the people that are applying to university or are going in university, uh, what what uh, what what advice do you have for them, and why should they continue with university and even to masters?
Mm. Well, let me start with a comment of that our parents are nagging on us. So one thing I would like to say is that or "atne," this is words that a lot of us have heard throughout our, um, let's say, growing in an Eritrean family. And I do understand our parents. And from a historical context, Eritrean, let's say, as a people, we've been starved on education. Like, do you know that the highest level of education we were allowed to get during the uh, 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 Italian colony was the fourth grade, for
Mhm,
instance. And
mhm,
And so the hunger for education is imprinted into us. So I would say this is a very good starting point, that each family, they want the next generation to be better and better, and this is natural everywhere. So that's good way of telling all the youngsters until high school, "Atsna, atsna, atsna'i." Don't be too afraid of it, but embrace it and do your best. And now going up to the university level, my take on it is that the society we live in keep changing. Today, without a university degree, the type of job you can have to be competitive is limited compared to maybe 30 years ago. So globally, to be competitive, you really need to have a higher education. So that's very important thinking process. Does not mean that people cannot make it without education, because many people would say, yeah, but Gates drop out, Facebook owner drop out, all of those big names you can say are drop out. But what we forget to remember is that these are people who has been more or less, now I'm doing a general statement here, but they come from a privilege of being at the right environment at the right time. So there have been a lot of opportunities around them that made them grab those chances. So it's very important that to be lucky, you need to be in an enabling environment. So with an education, you make yourself lucky. So it's very important to remember. For me, it's very important to take the next level in terms of university education. It could be bachelor or masters. Either way, dare to take the chance. Another thing to consider, at least now I will talk about the education system in Sweden. When we go to what we like higher middle school, gymnasium here, we have 10 to 15 courses same time. So the pressure levels are very high. You constant bombarded by exams. When you go to university, I can rest assured it's much easier, because you only have 2, maximum 3 courses at the same time, and then you have all the time in the world to dive into your education. So really, for me, university life was where I expanded the most. It's almost like the brain feels like a sponge. Curiosity goes up. So I really want you to experience it. It's a very important part of everyone's life. So this is the basic line for me: is take a risk. If you do the wrong education, it's fine. You can change during so nobody knows exactly what they want. So which means you can always feel and change fields, but to go to a higher education today would be a recommendation to every child growing up. So that's my take. In my particular story, I tend to be more analytical. Early in my career, or let's say as a student, I used to like mathematics. And that was one of those things. I was not particular best at it, but I was enjoying it. I really like when something has a conclusion. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's like, I like when things make sense. So people like me tend to be more analytical brain. So for me, that was one of those early clues I had, that engineering was the balancing point towards what I want to do at the university level. And so, which means is that you need to listen to your inner voice, thinking about what makes me tick, what's my interest line, and then you should align yourself with mentors and other older people around you to really ask yourself in terms of, oh, this is how I'm thinking. What do you think? So it's a very good. I would say our parents have done their big job by saying atne, and then the next level is relatives, could be a cousin, could be your brother, your sister, whoever has done this before you, 3-4 years ahead of you. Ask the hell out of them, and then so try to figure out what makes sense for you. But my recommendation based on my experience is that higher education is a must today, because it makes you attractive in the global economy. So another thing is that Sweden or wherever you're living is not the only marketplace for you. If you have a bachelor or a master education, you can actually get a job in another country. So the world is shrinking, and then you will give yourself an opportunity with the higher education. So that's how I would take it from on the master level.
Okay. If we go one step further, we have people, they're in the university, they are doing their masters. What can we say to encourage them to take the next step?
Yes, so the next step is a PhD. And then PhD, the difference between a PhD and a master education in a way is PhD is like a work. You're working in a research topic, and then you are more or less being specialized in a narrow field. By the time you've done your PhD, you better be better than your professor at that particular project that you're working on. So what you do is you specialize into a narrow and you become highly skilled in that field. But as a sidekick or a secondary thing is that you can then relay that into the environment you're at. So which means the bigger picture, the bigger around that topic that you've been studying. So for a PhD, I think I would not go for the sake of the title, because there is a lot of work, a lot of hard work required to finish your education. So if you're not interested at all, I would say after master, you should go into industry, because there you can then, shape your career as well. However, if you feel that you still have the energy, you are very curious, would like to learn more about a certain topic, dive a bit more, the PhD is something to consider. And so also, just for the sake of clarity, PhD is the highest education level you can do. So which means once you become a PhD, there's no more education. You can take courses, you can get experience, you can get exchange of research exchange, and you can do postdoctoral fellowship that I did. But PhD is really the highest education, formal education you can acquire. So which means if you add 3 to 4 years of your master, you will become expert in a certain field, and that opens up more doors. So which means then you are expert, and then you will be hired as an expert either to a company, or you can also do an academic career. So for those who are curious, want to learn more, and are interested into an academic career maybe, then PhD is a very it's, I would say, more or less a must. There are other ways to go, especially people who are doing clinical, like medical doctors, could go through the clinical practice and start to get earn experience of research, go into more and more towards from there. But traditionally, without a PhD, you cannot become a professor, for instance. So that becomes a bit difficult road otherwise. So if your interest is in academia, and then a PhD becomes a natural step to take. And again, the difference between master and PhD now is that when you do your PhD, you're required, it differs slightly from country to country. You're required to take some courses, but it's not as much as the master. And then this becomes more research. So you basically are researching a topic, exploring different ideas, etc. So it becomes like a work, but I would not say not a traditionally 9 to 5 work, but rather it's a commitment you do over several years. So I would say, I cannot say it's less stress, but it is a lifestyle in terms of more reading, more diving into your topic. But the reward is a great once you finish your PhD.
Thank you. So when people are done with their PhD, I understand that the learning never stops. What is can you what can people expect when they're done with their PhD? What else? Because you said you can take courses and so on, but what is the reward of having taken the PhD? Would you say?
I think it's two things, correct? One is, as I was earlier saying, once I was finishing my PhD, thought I was going to go to the industry. So I was interviewing for different companies and exploring my possibilities. So, of course, one natural step is to go to a company and work as an expert. So the difference then is once you have a master, maybe you become a project leader of a smaller team, and then you grow yourself into that role, and then you can get more and more specialized. One thing is that normally something that the industry are actually complaining about when we graduate master students is that there is a need of re-educating people. So once a master goes from the academic environment to the industry, the industry would maybe take them and then re-educate them to shape them slightly towards what they want, while a PhD more or less would be hired to bring something new to the table, to take companies more into R&D, research and development. So there is that aspect which is satisfying. So basically, you are shaping tomorrow's product in a company. Some of us, like myself, stay in academia. And once you stay in academia, after PhD, there are many different routes, but the traditionally route is that you start as a postdoc, like I did, postdoctoral fellow. I did it at Harvard Medical School. That's the time when you acquire new knowledge. So you have a knowledge from your PhD, and then you go somewhere to acquire new, and then you combine those to create your own, let's say, identity, your own research field, your own research line. And there you still need mentorship from professors and others. But so the next, let's say, level is more titles rather than education, because as I said, PhD is really the last education you can get. So I was, in my case, I was an assistant professor. As you can hear from the name, assistant professor is basically a junior principal investigator trying to embark on an academic career, leading PhD students, master students. You create your group. After assistant professor, you become associate professor. Now in Sweden, associate professor is faculty position. So which means the university is hiring. Assistant professor is time limited. So you can only be in Sweden now, of course, some changes in different countries. It means that 4 years assistant professor. After 4 years, you need to become associate professor to continue that ladder. Otherwise, you have to have other type of job. In my case, then associate professor is a faculty position where the university is more or less indicating the research you're doing is so good, we want to keep you here. And then after associate professor, you apply to become a full professor, and that is merit-based. So basically, you need to have qualifications. If you qualify at the given university, you then become a full professor. And I'm now, for instance, full professor since 2018. So the last 5 years, I have been working as a full professor at KTH. So which means, from an employment point of view, you are there until you retire. So which means this is it's a position you would hold based on your qualifications. So what can you do? In my case, for instance, I'm a head of a division. So a division basically is a subunit of an institute. So in my case, our institute is called the Protein Science, and under that we have 7 different divisions. So one of those divisions I'm leading. So when you look into from a general academic point of view, you can also get more and more academic assignments like administration. You go to become the president of KTH maybe at some point, or a dean, etc. So you leave the research slightly behind, and then you become more and more in the management and leadership of an organization, or you continue to do research and really excel in the research arena. In my case, I really my passion is in research. So for me, I am more interested to have an academic career where I am leading a team in the research aspect. However, many people, a lot of professors, become more interested with time on the organizational aspect. So they will, become the dean of a school, and then maybe even the president of the university, etc. So there are many career paths you can consider.
Okay. One other thing that I think a lot of us Eritreans here at home is hagar kaitrasa, atsna tamahar, and hagar kaitrasa. So from your perspective, what opportunities and challenges do you see for academic development or academic exchanges, partnerships with Africa or in Africa, and also Eritrea in specific?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think you're so right, because again, when speaking about Eritrea, a very young and vibrant nation, it's a very uh, uh, it goes without saying that the higher education you have, the higher responsibility, as well as opportunity actually to contribute. But to answer your question, maybe on a global aspect, uh, Africa, my passion, I guess, I have two passion. One is education, the other one is research. So we do cutting edge technology. We develop really tomorrow's diagnostic tools. What should be there? So one part of my brain always thinks Sub-Saharan Africa, and in particular Eritrea. So what I have managed to do and continue to do is, can I combine my passion with actually giving back to my community and or to Sub-Saharan Africa? So one of those concrete things that I was touching upon earlier was this workshop. We started this in 2000. It started in 2014, and I started to get involved since 2015. Going back to Sub-Saharan Africa, contribute on the advanced technologies that we do on a daily basis here to students that have not been exposed, not been privileged enough to have that level of research environment, is a key thing to do. But in addition to that, remember that disruptive technologies can change societies. So for us, it's very important. Sharing is caring, and to have this knowledge exchange is very, very critical for many of those countries struggling in Sub-Saharan Africa to really make the leap going forward. So with that said, this is not a quick fix, small things, but you have to continuously work on it. You have to continuously do the hard work. So I would say I am quite privileged to be in a position that part of my job is to contribute to tomorrow's technologies. When it comes to Sub-Saharan African, I do have projects. For instance, one of the larger European commission finance project I have is with the Sub-Saharan African. So where we are doing in that one is we are looking into capacity building and development of diagnostics, but also implementation. How can you merge that into, so you just don't develop something and dump it and say, please buy this one, but rather build up so you can have adaptation, local manufacturing, all those aspects to play around key in order for us to see technology that can come from Africa tomorrow. So rather than importing things, why cannot we develop it locally there? So there are many of those aspects that we think about, and I'm really passionate about those aspects. So there are some concrete projects, but the willingness is there, and also the fact that I am in a position to actually be able to contribute makes me privileged and happy. And then to answer your question with regards to Eritrea, I think myself, like many other Eritreans, are hungry and highly motivated to contribute to the well-being of Eritrea, and this is something that is at the core of my thinking process. We breathe Eritrea. We are concerned about Eritrea. We care for Eritrea, and that makes what I do even more important for me to be there and to contribute. We didn't touch upon the exact nature of what type of research I do, but I can already now say that it's highly relevant to countries like Eritrea. And so that makes it even more exciting for me.
Yeah. Now, it was intentional that we didn't go into the specifics, because there's a lot of questions that I still want to know and I still want to ask. So I'm thinking we're gonna, without being too tech. I don't know if it's possible to not be too technical when talking about your field, but I'm thinking we've had our time today, but I'm going to invite you for another episode so that we can go down a little bit on bits and bytes, on a level that our viewers also can follow. I know there's a lot of viewers that might understand everything, but just to make sure that all viewers can follow as well. But I want to thank you, Professor Aman. This was really inspiring. I know a lot of people are struggling right now to do their studies. I hope this will be a little bit push to help them go through what they are going through. Once again, thank you so much, Professor Aman. I will invite you again, so I hope you accept to come back and go in a little bit on a deeper level on the techie part as well.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you as well, and this is a good opportunity to get re-invited so I can talk about my passion. So really appreciate it, and looking forward to follow up in the future.
Absolutely, and I hope let's continue discussing. But I'm hoping we can have some kind of seminar as well where people can come together. It's of course interesting to sit on a screen and see it, but also to be together with people so that we can be face to face. Let's see if we can organize something like that for our viewers. If you have any questions, any comments, please go into the comment section and give your view or your feedback or your questions there as well. Thank you once again, Professor Aman.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye. So, dear viewers, that was today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. This is something that we will come back to. We have a lot of viewers that have also requested to have inspiring episodes, so there will definitely be more of this. And Professor Aman will definitely come back again. As I said, go into the comment section, give some feedback, give your comments, but also don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you. This is it for today.
Joined by
Fatawi.
Rahel
and Nathanael.
And we are here to tell you that Dmtsierrawyan is back to be broadcasted every 2 weeks here on this channel. Please tune in, join us for our conversations. We look forward to having you.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also give us feedback in the comment section.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also please give us feedback in the comment section.
Like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to give us feedback in the comment section.
We will be broadcasting in both Swedish and English. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to give us feedback in the comment section.
What a Mahaርን